Hi, everyone. I recently went through probably the most difficult time of my life right now, and I need to share my story and get some advice or support from anyone who won't mind listening and passing along some support or advice. This is a throwaway account because I'm planning to delete the post after a while, and because some of my family members are on Reddit and I don't want them to see it. I'm a mother of two kids, a 6-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son. My husband is in the military and is currently deployed, so I'm the only one responsible for the kids right now. I work as a sales manager for a tech company, and sometimes I have to go on business trips to visit clients or attend conferences. Usually, I arrange for my sister-in-law to babysit my kids at her house since she lives nearby and has two kids of her own who get along well with mine. Last week, I had to go on a 3-day trip to a client's office in another state. I try to avoid overnight trips when my husband is deployed, but sometimes there's nothing to be done and I have to work. I dropped off my kids at sister-in-law's house on Monday morning and gave her clear instructions on their routines, meals, and activities. I also left some cash and a list of emergency contacts, including my pediatrician's number. This was practically all a formality because we've done this many times and nothing bad has ever happened. As she is a mom herself, she understands how to take care of kids, at least that's what I believed until what happened. On Wednesday afternoon, I received a call from a police officer who said he was investigating a case of child endangerment and asked if I was the mother of a 9-year-old boy named Alex. I said yes, and he told me that my son was in critical condition at the local hospital and that the doctor suspected he had consumed marijuana. I was dumbfounded and horrified. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I asked the officer how this could happen and who was responsible. He said that my sister-in-law had called 911 when she found Alex unresponsive and vomiting, and that she had told the paramedics that he had eaten some brownies I had left with her when I dropped the kids off. The officer said that my sister-in-law was cooperating with the investigation, but that she had mentioned that I had not mentioned anything about the brownies containing any sort of substances, so she couldn't have known that the kids were not supposed to touch them. I was speechless. I couldn't believe that my sister-in-law had implicated me in this terrible situation. I told the officer that I had never given any brownies to my sister-in-law when I dropped off my kids, and that I had no idea how Alex could have had access to such things at my sister-in-law's house. I also told him that I trusted my sister-in-law and that she had never raised any concerns about my parenting or my kids' safety. The officer said that he understood my position, but that the hospital staff have found evidence of marijuana in Alex's blood and urine, and that they had to notify Child Protective Services, CPS, and launch a formal investigation. He also said that I should come to the hospital immediately and speak to the doctors and the CPS caseworker. I hung up the phone, feeling like my world was collapsing. I called my boss and explained the situation, and she gave me some time off to deal with it. I then reached out to my husband through the emergency messaging system and let him know about everything that had happened. He was as shocked as I was and assured me that he will try to come home on emergency leave as soon as possible. I had to immediately book a flight, but even though I took the earliest one I could find, I only reached the hospital around 9 p.m. I don't think I'll ever recover from the sight of Alex hooked up to an IV and other machines. The doctors told us that he had gone through severe anxiety attacks and his blood pressure and heartbeat were not normal. They also said that when he was first brought to the hospital, he was extremely nauseous and had vomited several times, which indicated that he had consumed a large quantity of the edibles. I couldn't bear to look at my son's pale and fragile body and not feel guilty and helpless. My sister-in-law wasn't there when I reached the hospital. She was at home with my daughter and her kids. The hospital staff told me that she visited Alex twice a day and said that they hadn't seen any other kids with her, which made me feel better because that meant that my daughter hadn't seen her big brother in this state. A police officer and two CPS caseworkers were waiting for me at the hospital, and I barely had enough time to see my kid before they took me to the precinct for questioning. They asked me about the brownies, and I told them that I don't use any sort of substances and hadn't left any food for the kids when I dropped them off at my sister-in-law's place. I had just left some cash. They said that my sister-in-law had told them something different. I felt incredibly helpless, but insisted on what I said because obviously that's the truth. The easiest way of clearing out things would be to take a statement from Alex, but he was not well enough at that point. It was clear that there would be no easy way of going about it, so I got in contact with a lawyer. Since Alex wasn't under my direct supervision during the incidents, I wasn't arrested, but the CPS launched an investigation to look into the whole thing. I was asked to undergo a drug test, which I agreed to and passed as well. Meanwhile, my sister-in-law was nowhere to be found. She had been unresponsive over both text and call ever since this whole thing happened. I had tried reaching her multiple times, but of course, she didn't have the guts to confront me after putting my son's life at risk. I decided to show up at her house to confront her and get my daughter. Her car was in the driveway, so I knew she was home. She wouldn't open the door at first, but I told her if she doesn't, then I'll call the cops on her, so she had to open up. You guys can probably imagine how our interaction must have gone. She denied making the brownies and kept saying I must have forgotten, and I flat out called her a crazy liar. Things got really ugly and loud, and I left with my daughter. It only then hit me that my daughter could potentially be of some help here. She knew that I hadn't baked any brownies. I rarely bake at home because it's just not my forte, and it had been only a few days, so she would definitely remember. I called my lawyer to tell her, and she said we can approach CPS. CPS workers and a police officer asked my daughter questions, and she said Mommy didn't make them any brownies. But she also couldn't say if her aunt made brownies either, so matters were still unclear. In the next 2 days, Alex was fortunately well enough for a statement. He said that he got back from school and found brownies in the kitchen and ate them. My sister-in-law was busy with her kids and didn't see him. When asked if I was the one who left the brownies, he said no, obviously. So yeah, it was clear that my sister-in-law was lying and shifting the blame to me because she was the one who put my child in danger. She got questioned by the police and they managed to get her to admit to everything. She said she didn't mean to let the kids have access to them and was putting them away, but then her daughter fell and got hurt, so she forgot about the brownies completely. Between all that, Alex came home and ate the brownies because he was hungry after school. And what kid can ignore delicious-looking warm brownies anyway? The important thing is, of course, that Alex is fine now. But I will never forgive my sister-in-law for what she did. She got charged with obstruction of justice and false reporting. In my statement, that is considered a misdemeanor, and although she probably won't get jail time for it, she has to pay fines. But that's not something I'm satisfied with. To say that I'm angry would be a massive understatement, even if I could somehow forgive the fact that she put Alex in danger because I'm sure it was an accident. She tried to get me in serious trouble for it. My husband is saying I should let it go and that if it makes me comfortable, we will cut off all contact with my sister-in-law, but I feel that's not enough for me. Any advice would be appreciated. Update 1. Thanks for all the responses, guys. I genuinely appreciated hearing different perspectives. First of all, Alex is doing all right for those of you who asked. He is confused about what happened, and we have explained to him in an age-appropriate way what made him fall sick because I think he deserved to know. My husband is back home, although he can't stay for a very long time. Now, for those bashing me for leaving my kids with my sister-in-law, I just want to point out the fact that she was watching them multiple times in the past, and I didn't even know she uses any sort of substances, although pot is legal in my state. Update 2. Putting this update to let you guys know I have decided that I do want to take the legal path and sue my sister-in-law for negligence and psychological and physical harm done to my kid under her care. I wish I didn't have to take such measures, and I probably wouldn't have if she didn't try to blame me, but I haven't forgiven her for that, and don't think I ever will. It's her fault for being stupid and making the situation worse. Update 3. Many of you are asking for updates on the lawsuit. We've only just started the process, but my lawyer thinks that it'll be an easy win. My husband is not happy about my decision, so things are kind of strained between us, but I'm still confident about my decision. I've blocked sister-in-law from every possible platform to avoid getting annoyed by her. You definitely did the right thing by suing your sister-in-law. The fact that she's a mom and was still careless enough to do what she did is something we cannot excuse. Also, even if it was an accident, she tried to get you in trouble. The least she could do is take responsibility for her actions, and she failed at that. I'm so sorry to hear about your kid, OP. As a mom, I can't even imagine how it must feel to see your child in such a state. Your sister-in-law is an immature and dangerous person, and I'm actually concerned about her kids as well. Also, your husband should be supporting you 100% in this, and the fact that he isn't is concerning as well. You should probably have a talk with him about the whole matter. Next story. Since the beginning of August, I've been taking my niece, 5-year-old, to kindergarten 2 to 3 times per week because my sister starts work at 6 and niece doesn't get dropped off until 7:30. I wake up at 5:15 a.m. to get ready and drive over to my sister's house. It's a hassle, but I love doing this. She's the cutest, sweetest kid, and it's bonding time. The issue is that I take her to school, but I'm not in charge of picking her up. That's on her parents. Split up, but co-parent well. Frequently, my niece will take whatever coat she's wearing off in their car after school on the drive home. For whatever reason, her parents never remembered to bring her coats in, and they all end up left in their 2 cars. This becomes a problem for me at 7:15 when I try to take her to school and realized there's no coats. I've been forced to bundle her up in 3 to 4 layers of sweaters in below freezing weather. I've complained to my sister and niece's dad multiple times. Administrators sent out multiple emails to remind parents. Also known as specifically my sister, but they try to be nice and send it to everyone. That kids need to be wearing coats in the morning. Twice in January, the principal reminded me when I dropped her off in the morning. There's always a principal or receptionist to greet each kindergartner at the back door. It's embarrassing to drop off a 5-year-old in freezing weather with no coat. And my niece shouldn't have to freeze in the AM. Last month, I told my sister that she needs to either teach my niece to carry her coat in, or she needs to do it herself. But that if it happens again, I won't take her to school. It was 16 degrees Friday AM, and I go to leave the house with her, no coat. I called my sister to ask her where her coat is, and she said they're all in their cars. I was angry and hung up on her and went to get sweaters. Then I changed my mind and texted my sister that she can either take an hour off work to bring me a coat, or I'm keeping my niece home with me, but I'm not taking her out in 16-degree weather without a coat. My sister didn't see the message until 9 a.m., and she called me absolutely furious that I didn't just take her to school. I told her that I was sick of going out of my way to take her daughter to school all the time, and she couldn't even give me the basic courtesy of making sure I had what I needed to get her to school. This has caused a rift between us in the last few days, and family is split about who is the AH. I think this is a clear everyone sucks. I'll admit I was trying to be petty to teach her a lesson. But some people think my sister is basically innocent and I broke her trust. AITA? I've complained to my sister and niece's dad multiple times. Administrators sent out multiple emails to remind parents. NTA at this point. They're just being lazy. This isn't just forgetfulness. It's a I don't give a damn attitude. And everyone else can just deal with it because that walk back out to the car for 15 seconds isn't worth it to them. I don't know why she's blowing up and telling everyone. Because at the end of the day, you're doing her a favor. The whole thing that's going to break here is your willingness to keep doing this in the mornings. NTA, then the teacher has to either send the kid out for recess in freezing weather without a coat, or keep her indoors and sacrifice their own short break time and important exercise time for your niece. This isn't a minor thing. Your sister and her ex need to make sure their kid has what they need to survive and thrive. You already go above and beyond for them. If this is your line in the sand, it's a great place to draw it. It's a shame some of your family isn't supporting you. Be consistent and stand up for that little cutie and yourself and her teachers. Next story. Around 4 years ago, a minor relative of mine, Billy, 16, male back then, took a collector's car without my knowledge for a joyride and totaled it. After paying the court fine and reparations for property destruction, Billy's parents did not have the money to pay me back for the car. The car was not truly replaceable and on the collector's market would have easily gone for 7 digits. Even if you count it as just a used car, it would have been high 5 digits in the aftermarket. I had insurance, but to collect, I would have had to file a police report. Billy's parents begged me not to, as it would go on his record and ruin his prospects for college. I agreed on the condition that Billy or his parents start paying me back once Billy reaches his majority, 20 in our country. We agreed on a price in the 6-digit range, but a lot closer to the used car value than the collector's value. It was about the price I paid for the car originally. We drafted an agreement that both of Billy's parents, Billy himself, and their legal witness all signed and sealed. 6 months ago, Billy turned 20. I waited a month for them to reach out, but nothing. At month 3, I sent a polite request for payments to start as agreed, ignored. Sent more messages at months 4 and 5, no response. I messaged them saying if they did not start making good on what is owed, I would file that police report. Statute of limitations for grand theft auto is 30 years in this country, so there's no waiting this out. They finally requested to talk. They tried to say that so much time had gone by that they had forgotten about it, and how we were family and I didn't need the money, so could I let this go? I wouldn't agree. I'm not expecting significant monthly payments, but I do expect to see effort to make things right. They then tried to say how Billy had grad school aspirations overseas and his younger sister was starting college this year and they needed the money. College doesn't cost nearly as much in this country. I asked them when they could see themselves paying. They only want to start payments after their daughter has finished school. I refused. Billy can get a part-time job to pay this up. Things will be tight for them, but it's unlikely they won't be able to afford their daughter's tuition. It is possible that it would affect Billy's grad school plans, if these plans are real, which I'm not sure I believe. Since then, they've been bad-mouthing me to that side of the family, saying that I'm extorting money from them by threatening Billy's future. I've been getting a stream of texts from relatives who want to talk with me. I don't see why I should act like a good relative when this is the way they are. AITA? NTA, file the police report. Billy and his parents have no intention of ever paying you what they owe you. File the police report and collect the insurance. Billy is the one who screwed up. No reason you should pay for him. NTA, you should have gone to the police when it happened. The boy was still a minor. Minors get away with stuff. Adults just don't. Or their penalties may be smaller. But that isn't your problem. Your joyriding car thief, crappy driver, relative, wrecked your car. Your expensive car. Your insurance people would have wanted to see a police report, wouldn't they? Unless you didn't have insurance, which would have been a bad idea. Have you been reimbursed at all? You are being taken advantage of so hard here. NTA, this is what they were hoping for, that you would forget about and that they would be off the hook. It's becoming obvious they had no intention of living up to their obligations. And the fact that they are leveraging family members to pressure you to back off is a sign that they know they don't have a legal or moral leg to stand on. They should be the good relatives and live up to what they agreed to those years ago. Billy screwed up due to a decision he consciously made and should have to face those consequences. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl